104.5 The Team, and we are joined by Ryan Edwards from 104.3 The Fan in Denver. Ryan, as we get ready for the Broncos to host the Patriots, it seems as though almost no one is giving Denver a chance to win this game. Is everybody missing something?
I think they are. The fact is, Brady, Manning in the postseason, the road team has never won. So, everybody that wants to just immediately point to the Patriots offense and the fact that they've been, a dynasty, they've been really good. I respect that. Bill Belichick, 22-8 in postseason. They're a very, very good team. But counting out this Broncos defense, the number one defense, I think is a little faulty. And the fact is, really, they've played every game close. Just because a team plays close and they win in a grinded-out fashion doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad team. In fact, I'll point to 2 years ago when the Broncos had the best offense in the league, and they were blowing everybody out, and that everybody had a lot of confidence saying, wow, the Broncos are so good because of this great offense. And what did that end up doing for them? In the Super Bowl, they had one of the most embarrassing losses in Super Bowl history. The fact is, defense does win championships. The Broncos have the best defense in this matchup. I absolutely like the chances.
What's the confidence level of Broncos fans in the area?
I mean, it's tempered. There's no doubt about it. This has not been a team with all the drama that's happened with the quarterback position, with the way the offense has played this year, the inconsistencies as a team as far as effort and performance at times. There's no doubt. I mean, they're going into this matchup thinking, gosh, they have to play a near perfect game to get past the Patriots. But like I said, you're at home. The crowd can be a bit of a factor, and I think that the fact that Tom Brady versus the Broncos is 2-6. All time, some of these stats really do point to the Broncos having more of an edge than they're giving credit for. But, locally, I think people are sort of pumping themselves up with the hope, more so than the actual feeling of confidence, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And hope, confidence, what do you have in Peyton Manning and his throwing arm right now?
I think he's going to do okay. I think versus the Steelers, you watch that performance, and there's, I guess, depending on what kind of lens you're looking through, the people that are anti-Manning had plenty of fire through that, no touchdowns. But the people that are sort of pro-Manning or at least pro the Broncos and not anti-Manning also look at the fact that he had his first game of the season without an interception. So for me, I look at this opportunity for the Broncos and, what Peyton Manning can do as long as he can beat them with his head, which is exactly what Mike Tomlin pointed to after it. He can beat them with his head. He doesn't need to do a ton through the air. I think that, when they beat the Patriots back in Week 12, they rushed for 32 carries for 179 yards. That's clearly the formula to get past the Patriots. I expect them to do basically the same thing they did versus the Steelers and really commit to the run.
Ryan Edwards from 104.3 The Fan in Denver. Follow him on Twitter at Ryan Edwards 104.3. Ryan, what's the status on Brock Osweiler? He's a little dinged up. Is there a chance he's in this game?
Well, I mean, everybody's full go this week. I mean, it's actually one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my life covering football, where you're this deep into the season and everybody is a full participant in practice. Maybe the Broncos should take a little bit of a note from Bill Belichick and start listening more people as questionable so we have something to talk about. But he doesn't do it. Everybody's full. Even Chris Harris, who's probably the most banged up guy, everybody's full, including Brock Osweiler. I think that, he's absolutely available for it if they need to go to him. The leash is going to be long for Manning, though. This isn't a situation where, and even in the last game, you saw what happened. There was not, at least according to Gary Kubiak, there was not a moment they actually considered going to Brock Osweiler, even though under similar circumstances in the San Diego Chargers game, you could point to the offense needing a bit of a spark. They're going to probably approach this one just like it. There's no reason to go to Brock Osweiler unless there's an injury, unless the team is turning the ball over at a ridiculous amount like they did versus the Chargers, where they had 5 turnovers on offense.
You said that Harris is ready to go. Most likely he draws Julian Edelman, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, they're gonna put him. He's their best cover corner. I mean, look, you have 3 starting caliber cornerbacks on this team in Aqib Talib, Chris Harris, and Bradley Roby. But the fact is, in the slot, that's where Chris Harris really does his best work, and he looks to be full go. He said he feels better this week than he did last week going into the game. He clearly looked a little hampered versus the Steelers. There's nobody that's going to argue that, and even Chris admits to it. But he says he feels great. Some of the work that he's getting in, I thought it was great news that he had a full practice on Wednesday. They got into the shells yesterday with helmets. They had him doing some things with holding to make sure that the arm held up. I mean, once again, with these guys, it's all about contact, right? I mean, during practice, they're not going to have a lot of contact. But when he falls to the ground, when he has to bring somebody down, I mean, that's when you're going to see what happens with that shoulder. But right now, he's saying all the right things. John Elway said he was a game-time decision, but according to Chris Harris, according to Wade Phillips, they all feel really good about where Chris Harris's abilities are right now.
You're in the locker room every day. Is he surprised how much traction his comments about how to tackle Rob Gronkowski picked up nationally?
I'm not surprised because of the knees. I think if you would have just said tackle him down low or tackle him low by the legs or anything like that, I think that it wouldn't have gone nearly as viral. It wouldn't have blown up nearly as much as it did. But when he said the knees, that sort of gives a different perspective, I think, a different imagery for people. And I think if you ask Chris Harris about that, he respects it too. He's not a dirty player. Like we've all know dirty players in the league. Chris Harris is not one of those guys. He's just simply stating a fact. You can't possibly try to tackle Rob Gronkowski at the chest level. You're not going to be able to bring him down. It doesn't matter who you are. So for Chris Harris to basically say, you need to tackle him low and you need to hang on for dear life, I don't have a problem with that. I think what people have a bigger problem with is his knees, because then when you're talking about knees, you're talking about guys' careers, and this is a guy that has had knee issues and knee surgeries, and I think that's where it sort of blew up a little bit. They've curtailed that. It's not been as big a storyline as the week went on. I talked to Brandon Marshall yesterday. We had him on our show, and I asked him about it, and he sort of deflected the whole knees thing and said it's really just about tackling low. You got to get to his legs.
Ryan Edwards, 104.3 The Fan in Denver, right here on 104.5 The Team in Albany. Now I'm going to ask you, and you know, I'm figuring you got to go Denver because you live there, but do you really believe the Denver Broncos win this game? What's your prediction?
I do believe the Broncos win this game. And, yeah, you're right. I mean, look, it does play a little bit that I'm around them all the time and that we're here. It sounds a little bit like a homer pick. I think that, and my co-host Sean Drotar said this perfectly. He said, you know, if they play this game 10 times, you probably have the Patriots winning at 8. But they don't play the game 10 times. You know, they play it once. And the fact is that at home, Tom Brady has not won here, you know, in the postseason. This is not something that he's been able to do. And so, you know, you look at the home field advantage being a big factor. The Broncos' number one defense, I think they grind it out. If they can keep it a fourth quarter game, if they can score instead of kicking field goals like they did versus the Steelers where they had to settle for 5 field goals, if they can actually score touchdowns on at least 2 of those, I think they put themselves in position. I have them winning at 26-24. So,
Ryan, am I going to see you in San Francisco?
I sure hope so.
Ryan Edwards from 104.3 The Fan in Denver. Thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Anytime, guys.